Let's talk about the Brothers War Commander, Best of the Worst. That's the top 3 cards from that set that are seeing play in 1% or less of decks since the set's release. This is a very small set, only 2 commander decks, and only 1 card from the entire set is seeing play in more than 1% of decks, and that's Urza Chief Artificer. In the number 3 slot, we have Fareed, Enterprising Salvager. That's 2 in a red for a 3/3 legendary creature, Human Soldier. Whenever a non token artifact you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, create a colorless artifact token named Scrap. Pay 1 in a red, sacrifice an artifact, choose 1. Put a +1/+1 counter on Fareed, it gains menace until end of turn. Go to target creature, discard a card, then draw a card. Fareed is the whole package when it comes to artifact decks. It does everything you want from it. It makes your artifacts into more artifacts, and it is worth noting the scrap token literally does nothing. It's just there to trigger your artifact into the battlefield triggers or give Fareed another thing to sacrifice. But I'm sure you can find plenty of things to do with an additional token for everything that you sacrifice. So as soon as you're in a deck that cares about sacrificing your artifacts in any way, Fareed is an absolute auto include. In the number 2 slot, we have Machine God's Effigy. For 4 mana, you get an artifact with you may have Machine God's Effigy enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it's an artifact and it has tap to add blue. It's not a creature. Tap to add blue. Machine God's Effigy is super cool and it can do some really interesting things in your deck. On its face, it's a 4 mana rock that only taps for 1, so that's not super good, not really something you want to be playing. But the fact that it enters the battlefield as a copy of any creature, including your commander, and it's not going to get legend rolled out because it's not a creature itself, makes for some very interesting situations. So I think it's worth considering in any deck that is already cloning things, or specifically in any deck where you've got a commander with like a static ability or a triggered ability that doesn't require you to attack. Anything like that, and Machine God's Effigy is going to be really cool. In the top slot, we have Sardian Avenger. That's 1 in a red for a 1/1 creature goblin warrior with first strike and trample. Whenever Sardian Avenger attacks, it gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is the number of artifacts your opponents control. Whenever an artifact an opponent controls is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, Sardian Avenger deals 1 damage to that player. Sardian Avenger not seeing further adoption actually surprised me a lot. This card is strong, and maybe it's a meta call, but at least in my play group, we see a lot of treasures at the table basically every game. So even if there's not a dedicated artifact deck playing, you're going to get some valuable pressure out of Sardian Avenger. That's it for the Brothers War Commander Best of the Worst wrap up. I think these decks had some really sweet and underappreciated cards in them. If you guys have any cool experiences with the cards we talked about, I'd love to hear about it.